All right, good to see some of you guys again. From familiar faces from the last couple busy days, and they have been busy days. But, at KU football, everything from right now on to this weekend is all about preparing to head to Morgantown and win a football game. That's our players' focus. That's our coaches' focus. That's the entire program's focus from this point forward. At West Virginia, Dana Holgerson has done a great job of getting these guys ready to play this season. They're sitting at 2-2. After I think even what Dana would consider probably a disappointing year for himself a year ago, sitting at 2-2, and two of those losses were highly competitive games against highly ranked opponents. West Virginia is playing at a very high and competitive level, and Coach Holgerson has done a great job of getting them in that position. I hope that this week his stomach has settled down a little bit. He's not still sick from last week, and he shows up in good health. So on offense, very potent offense. They're averaging about 400 yards passing a game, 150. The key players on that, the quarterback is playing exceptionally well. Clint Trickett is off to a great start. Guys, throwing the ball 400 yards per game is what he's averaging. But the key number there is he's completing 72% of his passes. And it's not the 72% of dropping the ball off on short passes. The guy's throwing the ball downfield and completing a high percentage, doing a fantastic job. And if a quarterback's having that, obviously he has some wideouts to throw to. And number 11, Kevin White, is off to a phenomenal season. The guy's made some very tough catches, ran away from some good people. He is playing as good as anybody I could imagine is playing in the conference right now. The other wide receiver, number 5, Mario Alford, is just as dangerous. He's a guy that had a couple nice catches against us a year ago out here on this field. Very explosive player. And then Russell Snell at tailback's doing a nice job. Those three guys combined with an O-line that is I don't know them, but they look like they must have some nastiness to them. They play hard. They play downhill. They're a physical bunch. They're well coached. The O-line is taking a very good care of the quarterback and allowing them to run the ball. Defensively, Tony Gibson, who I've known for years, is running their defense. And doing a good job with that. They're a 3-man front team, an aggressive team, high-pressure team. Some of the impact guys, they have 2 returning second-team All-Big 12 players, and their safety, Carl Johnson, who's leading the team in tackles. And their linebacker, Nick, and I'm not even going to try and embarrass my man's last name, number 35, wouldn't do that to him. He's playing well, and up front, Dontrell Hyman is leading the D-line in tackles. So defensively, they're getting after it and doing some good things. So it's a great challenge, great opportunity for us to head to Morgantown and play a team that's playing well, playing competitive, and for our guys to go there and get after it and show everyone what our brand of football is going to be. So from here on out, any questions we have?
I always like to ask this one, and it's probably a dumb question, but I keep asking. Do you take anything from last year? Do you think your guys will have confidence knowing, I know this is a different team and you mentioned Trickett, but they did beat this team here last year, and it's one of the few times they've had success against the Big 12 teams. Will that be a factor this week?
Well, I think it always is. It's a team that we were successful against a year ago. Our guys came out and played well. We won a Big 12 football game, and it's one of those deals. And it's like we say, Mario Alford was on the field last year. Dexter McDonald, you were on the field last year. It's the same show. It's just who got better over the course of that year and who's going to compete this game. And I think that we're going to go into every game believing that we're going to go play the way we practice to play and get things done. But obviously it's in our head that we did win last year.
Sort of flipping around from that. Dana and his staff had 2 years to kind of figure out what Coach Weiss did here and what Kansas was about under him. Now it's a little unpredictable. I mean, they know what you do defensively, of course, a little bit, but they don't know what to expect from this point on. Can that play in your favor at all, or do you think so?
I guess it could be an advantage to us. We're going to go in this game, and we have had a lot of meetings in the last 24 hours to try and find the best plan, the best strategy to give our kids a chance to be successful when we do go to that game. Everything won't be the same. We have made changes on offense. We have made changes on defense. There's things that have been changed and implemented in the last 24 hours, and things that we'll do that are be different than they have been. So, we're going to continue to try and be as creative as we can on both sides of the ball and give our kids a chance.
Playing yesterday, you gave a vote of confidence for Montel. What do you see in him that makes you confident going forward that he can be your guy?
Well, I mean, if you guys have been around Montel, the guy shows up every single day with a great attitude, shows up every day willing to go to work and putting in his work. His teammates respect him. His teammates trust him. He's a guy on this team that has earned his way through there. He's a young quarterback that is developing in a new offensive system. And, it's not always going to be perfect. There's some new things. There's a lot of things to learn. The kid is working as hard as he can to improve each week, and we're all behind him.
Coach, can I ask you a couple of questions about Ben Heaney? As you're going through this transition, since he's a young question leader on this team, what kind of role does he play in helping you make this successful? What kind of a role, what kind of legacy, where do you think he can fit in the legacy of KU linebackers? There's been some good ones here. And can I also ask you specifically from the game Saturday, there was one play where he came from the far side, kind of circled around the back, and caught the quarterback from behind. We've seen his speed before. To me, to my eye, that was about one of the more impressive plays I've ever seen. Do you recall that play? Can you comment on that play specifically as well?
Is that the one headed to our sideline? Yeah. And people of all time kind of label Ben Heaney as this throwback linebacker. And I keep saying that he's not a throwback linebacker. The guy is every bit the modern-day spread offense type middle linebacker that there's out there. People don't give him enough credit for how athletic and how fast the guy can move on the football field. I mean, I guess in my mind, people say old school linebacker, you think of the big blockhead guy standing in the middle, plug and run all day. And Ben's more willing to do that, but the guy can run. And that's a play that you're talking about that, he was actually an underneath coverage dropper. It was a 3rd and long situation. The play kind of broken down on their part of it, and it's an obvious deal where the QB was going to scramble. And it's just a fine line of where you talk about guys willing and able to pull the trigger. Ben knows the guy's going to scramble. He pulls the trigger, and you guys saw him flash across the screen. He has unbelievable talent for that. I can't go back forever on where he fits in the legacy of Kansas linebackers. We've been fortunate to have some really, really good players here. As a kid, going back to the Willie Plus type guys, and I don't want to leave guys out beyond that. It's just they're not in my head. They're in Max and Bob's, but not mine. So if I leave one of them guys out, I sure apologize about that. But the Nick Reeds and Mike Rivera and those guys, James Holt through there. But he's definitely he's one of the better linebackers we've had in the time I've been here.
There was some talk about some illness spreading kind of through the team. Everybody pretty healthy? I know those 2 offensive linemen were out there last week, but does that seem okay right now?
Yeah, those guys are over that. There was a case of that. Some guys had some different deals, but we are looking at meeting with Murphy Grant, our trainer, does a great job. Does an unbelievable job meeting with him. We're back to a healthy football team.
And you've got Larry at first string now. Is that a John decision? Is that a you decision? Is it a collective thing? And can you tell us why?
It's always an us decision. John obviously is coaching that position, and those are the guys he feels the strongest about. But it's a spot that Larry's in, and that's the way we're starting this game with him at the right tackle, Pat at the left, Nalu Keon, and Smithburg at the right guard. He's back and going again. So the only thing new I think you see on there is Joe Gibson's back as that second team center, and we're happy to have him back and in the mix of things.
I was wondering if you spent more time the last few days thinking about the offense than maybe you had really all year, and what's your role in that? I mean, do you have ideas from a defensive side of view, or are you taking more of a hands-off perspective?
I spent any amount of time I would have spent has been more than I did in the past because I really never even gave it 1 second of a thought. But yes, I have went down and visited with John. I have no ideas for him. I'm no help. Kind of the strange thing about it is I ask him why he doesn't do these things so that I can learn why I may or may not want to, So it's been good. We've had some good conversations. I think he is excited to get up there and make a few changes on offense that One, for example, I already brought up that he's going to go upstairs into the box and call the game from up there, which I think he feels is more comfortable for him. He can speak on that later. You'll get a chance to ask him, but he's going to do that, and he feels good about his plan for the week.
Have you had thought about how your game day may or may not be different?
Yeah, we have, and that's actually there's a lot of elements to that, because I am still going to stay very active, and I'm going to call the defense for the game and continue that. I didn't feel it was the right time to make that significant of a change. So I will be calling the defense, and with that comes, the defensive adjustments and the things that go on there. So during those time frames, we've implemented some plans on how we're going to handle, the game management situations that come up, whether it be a go for it on a fourth down, take a timeout here, or clock management toward the end of a half, or a deal. We've given that considerable thought and believe we have a really good plan to handle those deals.
You said at the beginning here that you're all business, and that's what everybody's about right now going forward. Have you seen your players be able to kind of do that and get over sort of that honeymoon of the transition and being excited about you and being excited about what's ahead? I mean, I know that's your plan is to be business, but have you seen it from them too?
I believe I have. We got the day started off pretty early. We had the 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. lift groups, and of course we were down there as coaches, to be around the players. I believe that's important to let them know that if they're down there, we're down there with them. So, it was rocking in the weight room this morning. Coach Holsopple had it going. Kids were working hard, bright-eyed, and just got them all talking about being ready to put in a solid day's work this afternoon.
Coach, I heard you say that you believe the KU football program is a sleeping giant. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, if you take all the things that we have to offer at Kansas for recruits that want to come here, for people to be a part of it, I mean, the most obvious one is the tremendous university that we're a part of, the academic reputation of Kansas University, the opportunities that exist there, part of an unbelievable community of Lawrence, Kansas that always offers the ability for people, recruits and student athletes to have an environment that's a true college environment, lots of stuff to do, but not too much to do to have the dangers of different universities. A football program with tradition that has the support of an administration that's willing to put everything into it, a fan base, a central location within the United States to be able to do things. There's so many countless great things about this job and this situation that it is what I said it is. It's a sleeping giant. When it wakes up, we're going to take this thing off and keep it going.
Clint, jumping off on that, there's different rules on how you can contact recruits and what you can say to them during the season, but when you go through a turnover like this, is it difficult to put together a class or keep the guys you've already had, or how are you going to approach that?
Well, recruiting is a highly competitive business, and if we're fortunate to have some commitments that we feel good about. We're going to do everything we can to remind those guys on a daily basis of all the things that I just answered the question before about why they chose Kansas, and that was a decision that was more than just one person or that. It's a decision for a lot of reasons, and keep reminding them of all those positive reasons of why they made the decision in the first place, and we'll work hard to keep those guys on board with us through this whole process, and as we find, if there's other opportunities out there to increase our recruiting pool, then we'll obviously keep our eyes open for that.
A lot of times when there's a turnover like this or a transition, a coach will say, hey, everybody starts over. There's nothing given to anybody. You get to prove yourself to me. But you've been here. Did you do anything like that? And open up competition at positions, or is that too hard to do, mid-season and certainly midweek while you're preparing for an opponent?
No, I did do that. I think that sometimes players get labeled a certain way, put in a certain role that maybe is fair or not fair, deserved or not deserved. So I wanted all these guys, and I made the comment that we are going to start clean. We're going to start with a clean slate for every one of these guys, and our 2 o'clock meeting is going to prove that today, or our 2:45 meeting when we get them all in here, because there's going to be some guys that are going to show up with some chances on some special team units. Our special teams are going to be competitive today. There's going to be some guys that earn things, and in this program, you don't want to get players, everything's going to be earned, and there's going to be some guys get some chances to earn some things today. If they earn them, then they'll be rewarded. If they don't take advantage of it, then that they won't get the rewards that they hope to get. But we're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna keep all these guys involved because, like I told a lot of people, we have a great group of players that have worked extremely hard, and we got to give them a chance to go have some rewards.
Special teams, and does that mean some young guys maybe, or are you looking at using more first line guys on special teams, or all the above?
Yes, we will have first line guys on special teams. I've already made that clear to this team that as a player on this team, you have a responsibility to do everything in your power to help, and that's every single one of us. And you will see first line guys on there. Some of the other guys are going to get chances, are older guys. Some are younger guys. But I want everyone to know that they have a chance, and if they earn it, they'll get it.
I know the last couple of weeks of practice have been amped up a little bit more physical. Is it where you want it now, or will you amp it up even a little bit more here as the season goes on?
Well, I don't know so much about the physical part of practice in those terms. We definitely are going to put our own stamp on this deal. Just going from in this position where we are right now, I just believe it's important that myself and our coaches, we do what we feel is best for the University of Kansas football program, and we do what we believe in terms of practice, how we're going to practice, the way we set it up, and that's the way we're going to move forward. Our practices they'll be quick, they'll be efficient, they'll be physical when they need to be physical, but we'll be intelligent with how we handle those guys and how much. It is week 4 into the season, but we're going to practice at a very high tempo with enthusiasm and get them in, get them out.
Clint, how has Dave Campo helped you transition into the new head coaching role?
Dave's always been a tremendous resource for us. The years of experience that he brings, all the things that he has seen through his coaching career. It's always a comforting sight to see him when you come in there and you have something on your mind and you know that you can bounce it off of Dave and he can come up with an answer that comes from years of experience and wisdom. So appreciate everything Dave brings to our program and what he does for me.
Clint, Louis Matsakis is now on the staff. How can he help out?
Well, Louis, he's been in this conference before as a special teams coordinator. He's been a successful one at that, so it's a great feeling. I just finished meeting with Louis at 11:30, and already what he's put together that our kids will see for the first time at 2:45 when we hit a special teams meeting. I think they're going to be blown away by what he has prepared to show them that way. The way we're going to practice our special teams starting today will be drastically different because of his ideas and his input. But right away, I think it's going to be we're not going to be more than a minute into special teams, and I think the kids are going to understand there's a difference.
You mentioned that you didn't have a ton of thoughts for Coach Reagan as far as offense goes yet and that kind of thing. But we know you've thought about this, becoming a head coach someday, whether it was when you were on your first date with your wife or whatever it is. Over the years, you've obviously thought about that. And you've also coached so much defense against Big 12 offenses. What about philosophically? What do you think, you would want your team to be identity-wise offensively?
Well, obviously that always starts with personnel, who you have and what they can do. And I think that's in football in general. Now, if you're talking about the perfect world, Dr. Zinger last season would always come in on Mondays and sit down with me, and we'd talk through some things. And there are some unbelievably creative things going on in offensive football. And outside of being a defensive coach or that role, you sit back and you look at it, and you got to give credit to some guys who have come up with some new revolutionary and very innovative things on offense. And what some guys are doing out there in terms of the tempos, the run-pass conflicts, the reads that they're making on second-level people, the run-pass reads, the different things to where offensive football has gone, you do have to step back and kind of appreciate the minds that are going on in college football right now. So I see all those. I do have in my mind a blueprint of what I believe, just from my point, are the offenses that are hardest to stop, no matter what kind of players you have. And I'm not going to give credit to the ones that are running those offenses now. We're right there. John Reagan is in that train of thought. He is part of that family of guys that are finding ways to make life difficult for defensive coordinators.
Clint, you guys have had some well-known issues on the road. Is there something you can pinpoint or something that you can look to say we need to do this better, or just philosophically, I guess?
You know, you're right. There have been some the streak or whatever it is of us losing on the road. You know, it is what it is. It's out there. You know, when you go on the road, everything just has to be a little bit sharper. You know, the margin of error is smaller, and your focus has to be that much better. You know, we're going to address that during the week. That guys, it's that mentality that you go there. You embrace that the crowd's against you. You embrace that someone else is against you. You come together tighter as a group. You stay together tighter as a group, and you find a way to overcome things. And just having that mental toughness that, you know, we're going to begin working on every single day to go on the road in a difficult situation and be mentally tough enough to come out of it.
Do you think it's helpful with all the change that's taking place to get out of Lawrence and get on the road and just get the team kind of separated from everything?
I don't know if helpful. We love being right out there, you know, first. But you know, it's what it is. We're a team. We're together, and we have our way of playing, and that's what we're going to go execute.